Suit for Hire, a game that I expected to be a banger game from the trailers and gameplay footage I've seen from YouTuber Crimson, who I actually watched a video for a few years back in regards to making quick and easy game assets for Blender and Unreal Engine 5, so shout out to him for that. At first glance, the majority of the footage was from a top-down perspective, which made me less excited for the game, but given that it clearly pays homage and shows inspiration from Hotline Miami due to being the challenging shooter that it is, I understood his premise. On top of that, it draws a ton of inspiration from the iconic action franchise John Wick, and once I saw the outfit in action, I started to gain hype. But then, he added something that I didn't think would work, but it does. Third person. The moment I saw this video, I added third person to my top-down shooter, I was immediately sold. A game like this in third person is something that I've dreamed about, and to see it come true has made me ecstatic. The game's been out for a few months, and given its current sale of just 13-17 Australian dollars, I think it'd be the perfect time to pick it up and give it a try. Boy, did it not disappoint. Let's get into it, shall we? Suit for Hire can be classified as either a top-down shooter or a third-person shooter, or top-down shooter first, third-person shooter second. But thanks to having the option to switch between either of them on the fly, we can accept the game as being both. For this video and review, I went with third person, since it's a perspective that I'm 1, used to, and 2, the way I think this game should be played. Though I did only play very few minutes of the top-down perspective, suffice to say it's really good and is all personal preference at the end of the day. You play as a suit, a hitman or assassin who takes on contracts across the world, and you'll be traveling to numerous countries over the game's 35 levels. The main gist of the game is to shoot a ton of bad guys, be as accurate as possible, make use of the level's environments and tools or weapons at your disposal, and rack up an incredibly high score, which calculates your grade by the end of the mission. I am an absolute sucker for these sorts of games by being the ultimate perfectionist to get that S rating, and I recall spending almost 2 hours on one mission because I just wanted to get that rating so bad, and I think is one of the game's biggest replayability factors, considering that it is an indie game. You'll start off in the training range as you learn the game's mechanics, which there are a surprising amount of them that you'll be using throughout the whole game, such as sprinting, executions, counterattacks, melee combat, kicking, and diving for that max pain fix. Oh, and bullet time. An important thing to note is that almost all these mechanics rely on a stamina bar, so you can't go around spamming these moves. Once you finish your training, you'll start off at a city called Toronto and work your way up the food chain. The beauty of Suit for Hire comes from this minute-to-minute gameplay, and a lot of times it can be very, very cinematic, as if you're freaking Baba Yaga himself, and it's awesome. You'll start each level off with your pistol, which there's a few options to choose from, the starting pistol being the SVP-30LB. Each pistol has an ultimate which changes the way the gun functions and drastically affects gameplay. The 30LB can be loaded with piercing rounds that, you guessed it, goes right through enemies, making for sweet and easy pot shots. You'll only have this one at first, but will gain more as you continue playing. There's the 357 Magnum that lets you unleash your inner Arthur Morgan and John Marston, giving you dead-eye capabilities. The PP7S that's designed for stealth, yes, there is stealth in Suit for Hire, and reduces your enemy detection every time you use it. The S&G nail gun that refunds ammo every time you nail an enemy to a wall or surface. The Hunter 500, which grew to be my favorite weapon because of being able to refund the shot for every kill you get with it, since it only has one bullet and lets you replenish armor with its ultimate, which I felt was a bit silly at first, as in the ultimate part, but this is a high skill gap weapon. And finally, the Deagle, which lets you dual wield with the ultimate. Not much more to say on that one. Every pistol is viable since all of them can one-shot. The only exception I would say being the PP7S, because this game does have damage fall off and you do need to be up close and personal to make that one work, opening up multiple play styles and choices. Your pistol is essential to success, as there's an awesome mechanic that's built around it, which is based on accuracy and kills. As you kill enemies, on the left you'll see that you've hit and killed enemies and goes all the way up to 7, since there's 7 shots in each pistol. Killing 7 enemies with all 7 shots will score you a clean suit and instantly refill its magazine, allowing you to resume your carnage. Miss any shot and the streak goes away. There's 3 other ways to obtain ammo, such as these ammo boxes which either refill your current magazine or add an additional mag that you then hit the reload button to use, and special enemies dropping a bullet for you to go and pick up. The third way we'll talk about later. This game heavily incentivizes accuracy and speed, so getting ahead of your enemy or just playing through the levels over and over again and memorizing spawns and weapon locations are key to success. And it's also absolute cinema once you get into the groove. There will be situations where you won't be able to use your pistol at that given time, so that's where secondary weapons come in, which have their own ammo pool and don't work the same way that pistols do in terms of refilling them. These are obtained from enemies and there's a good amount of options, from sniper rifles to an assault rifle, a shotgun, pistol, and even melee weapons. It's a great habit of switching between the 2 weapons when you can to not only maximize your score, but your damage output, since you'll be swinging left, right, and center, dumping bullets on bad guys. Another interesting thing to note, which I think is awesome, is that bullets have travel time embedded into them. So while they may seem hit scan up to like 15 or 20 meters, the longer shots require a bit more finesse, and shooting a little bit ahead of them will ensure that you hit your target, which adds a bit of a skill gap to the game, which I truly enjoy, especially when you hit those satisfying shots with your pistol. You usually start your score off by killing an enemy, which begins at 1.0 and goes up by 0.1 for every enemy you kill. Different actions net you different score points for a time. I always thought that headshots were essential, but as long as you're hitting the body, you'll be killing them just fine, with a few exceptions. Cash stashes can be found on the floor and used to extend your score on top of just killing more bad guys, and after a few seconds your score will expire. That doesn't mean your score will stop there, it just means that you won't score as high as you'd like. I think a scoreboard or leaderboard system in Super High would be awesome to have, so that we can see people compete for bragging rights. This should also be filtered by the game's difficulties. Super High has 4 difficulties, with 3 of them being unlocked for you initially, which are Amateur, Licensed, Veteran, and Legend. I'm not sure if enemy spawns or damage are affected through each difficulty, but I'm going to assume they're not since it's not stated here. The only difference is armor, which absorbs 1 tick of damage when shot, and the Legend difficulty having a permadeath mode of sorts, so if you die at any point during the mission, you have to start from the very beginning. I believe this is earned by having a total score of 300,000 within all of the missions in the one location. Super High is designed to be a challenging shooter, and if you played Hotline Miami, you'll probably understand what I'm talking about, but for those who don't, let me explain. I've already mentioned 2 things, which are accuracy and speed, but the one thing I haven't mentioned is survival. The game is technically a one-shot, one-kill game, unless you play on any difficulty that has armor, which would only give you 3 or 1 plate of armor, which is 3 or 1 extra shots before your demise. You will die, often. Not on like Souls-like terms, but enough that you'll need to take a step back and figure out how you're dying and why. As soon as you die, you'll be given the choice to either restart from a checkpoint or start from the beginning, with the former option resulting in losing 2,500 score and potentially bringing your level grade down if you keep dying. The game also rewards patience, and at times is good to just slow down and think it through before you go ahead and do it. Thankfully, there's plenty of ways to survive attacks, from perfect dodging gunshots and melee attacks to countering the melee attack at the right time, diving away out of cover, or kindly using a guy as a human shield. Perfect dodging will slow down time, giving you a quick breather and killing anyone who happens to be close before returning back to normal. There will be situations where you won't have access to either your pistol or a secondary weapon, so you'll have to make do with your hands. The melee combat is nothing crazy, but suffices enough to where it integrates with the gameplay, since you can damage them enough to perform an execution and gain an ammo refill for your pistol, and iframes for a brief moment to plan your next move. You've also got a baseball bat and a katana as 2 weapons you can pick up, which break after a few hits, and you can throw your secondary weapons at the enemy when you run out of ammo. Damage is damage. Super High's level design is pretty solid, giving you a variety of locations, situations, and objectives. At first glance, I thought it would only be killing enemies with a few twists, but Crimson's done a ton of work reinventing and making every level feel different. Watching his video, Level Design is Still Hard, taught me a few things, not just about level design, but where his headspace was prior. He originally wanted to create big levels where players can be given a sandbox of sorts and let players not only play the game longer, but give them choice in how they want to navigate levels. And while some of that still retains here in the final release, such as this ship level where you can choose to either go left or right, both leading to the same destination by the end, he ultimately wanted to make short, sweet, and compact levels that take inspiration from Hotline Miami, and he made the right call to do that, which is shown across the entire Miami level set. It's a great way to set yourself limits as a solo developer so that you can get things done in a timely manner, while also making the levels worth playing. I think one thing that people often talk about is time, because on one hand, you have players who want to be able to truly experience your game and everything it has to offer, while on the other hand, you have players who don't have enough time to play or just don't feel inclined to commit to playing something that can take so long. And I think by having these short, bite-sized levels and experiences, you'll ultimately get a product that not only will you be proud of, but other people will accept it too. You'll be fighting through manors, clubs, abandoned parking lots, train stations, and a faithful recreation of the B-side of Dust 2 from Counter-Strike? This level took me by surprise, and the name and image prior pretty much gave that away. As mentioned before, you'll start in a fictional city known as Toronto and progress from one country to another. I can tell that Crimson used each destination as an experiment, if you will, since the Caribbean had these awesome kill house style challenges where it's just you and a bunch of targets you have to shoot, and it's all about completing it as fast as humanly possible. Or Tokyo, where there's a lot of rooftop fighting and diving from one building to another. One of the cooler missions that I enjoyed was Tiramisu in Roma, a mission that involved killing a bunch of bad guys outside, then depositing your gun and locking yourself down to a hallway of baddies with bats and katanas, resulting in pure melee combat that reminded me of the hallway fight from Sifu. There's also arena levels, where it just puts you in an area and puts your skills to the test by killing a bunch of bad guys for an X amount of ways before calling it a day. Great when you want to de-stress. If you're enjoying the video so far, consider liking and subscribing with notifications turned on. For those who are new, I'm PepSilk and I make all kinds of gaming videos, from reviews to memes and anything that I find of interest. Any support is appreciated, and I thank you for being here. To spice things up, every level has its own set of challenges, which upon completing will reward you with a cosmetic of some sort. It's a good way of adding some replayability to the levels and incentivizes completing those to also gain Steam achievements on top of that. You can customize your suit, giving them different hairstyles, face color, facial hair, torso, legs, and accessories, ranging from glasses to watches. After completing every level, I got the John Wick outfit, and so I've just been rocking this while going for the remaining achievements. Again, nothing crazy, but great to have for completionists and hardcore players alike. The enemy variety is good, with the usual photo melee and ranged enemies, followed by elite ones that have laser guns and can't be killed in one shot unless you're up close, which highlights the enemy when you can do it. Riot shielders who can be easily picked off with a bullet if they peek their head long enough or just kick them for a quick stun and kill. Guys with stun batons, snipers, and rocketeers. The game does a pretty good job at introducing you to each and every one of these, and the spawns aren't too broken or ridiculous. There's also a few bosses, such as this helicopter, and this big guy that shows up in the cathedral level in Miami, but they're fairly straightforward in terms of just shooting stuff at them until they die. If you're starting to get bored or want to change things up, look no further than the Modifiers, which have a range of fun and challenging ones. I say achievement hunters because as of right now, you can complete and do challenges and having modifiers on will not disable them, so go crazy and clean up what you need to clean up. As for fun and hardcore players, there's plenty of options, from God mode to infinite resources, martyrdom which makes enemies drop grenades on death, ragdolls, missing dealing damage to you, rolling random modifiers every 21 seconds, needing to stay on the move at all times, and many more. Any modifier revolving the player getting a buff decreases your score modifier, while the ones revolving the player getting nerfed increase it. And I'll stress this again, leaderboards! Crimson went out of his way to develop the entire game in Unreal Engine 4, since he started working on it years before Unreal Engine 5 became a thing. So this time we are not playing a UE5 game. That being said, it ran smoothly and I didn't experience a single crash, bug, or glitch. You shouldn't have any problems running this game at all. Suit for Hire is an incredible game made with love, care, and attention for both Hotline Miami and John Wick fans alike. It's the John Wick game I never asked for, but happy to receive, given that there isn't a game that's quite like this, at least off the top of my head anyway. The gameplay is beautiful, the choice of top down and third person is nice, on top of that, being able to switch between them on the fly in game. The difficulty is just right, the level design is excellent, and the replay value is decent, but can be greater if you decide to go for achievements or just play it to become an absolute masochist. For a one-man job, this is an easy must-buy from me, whether you get it during the current sale or full price. With updates and more coming on the way, Godrun Interactive, or Crimson as I've been calling him this entire time, has not only made a great game, but he's learned a lot from his own processes, and I hope he continues to make dev blog videos on his channel so that I can learn from him. I'm going to link his channel in the description for those who want to check him out. If you love the game, please consider giving him a sub and show some love for this awesome project. If you've made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. If I missed anything, comment down below. I'll have more coming to you soon. Peace.